Hello friends, Casey here, and happy 2021, and happy Zelda's 35th anniversary, which I totally didn't forget. Anyway, welcome to a new video and to my very first top 5 video, where I'm gonna be going through the top 5 story points I'd want to see in Breath of the Wild 2. Disclaimer, I'm not going to be including Ganon. Oh wait, I meant that totally mysterious and unconfirmed figure from the trailer, who is clearly a Gyarados, but we have no idea who he really is. Or some other pretty obvious story points, like the restoration of Hyrule in this, because those are pretty obviously going to be included in the game.
I'll eat my shirt if they aren't.
Also, just a quick reminder, these are only my picks and my opinions. But anyway, without further ado, let's just get on with this video. First, on number 5, we have the Giga Clan. I mentioned this already in my Age of Calamity DLC speculation video, that the future of the Giga Clan was pretty much left in the dark in both Breath of the Wild and Age of Calamity. And it would be amazing to see what exactly happens to them. In Breath of the Wild, we saw that even though Koga was defeated,
The Giga Clan was still after Link.
but they can't really keep doing that forever, can they? Koga's death isn't actually ever confirmed in the game. There have been implications, but never any confirmation, so that would also be nice to know. So if Koga did actually die, would we get a new leader for the Giga Clan? Maybe we could see Suga in this game acting as the new head of the clan. Giga Clan's past would also be interesting to see, like how they actually came to be after the royal family betrayed the Sheikah, and what were their schemes and everything, and how they came to love bananas so much. Number 4, we have the 8th Heroine.
The 8th Heroine is to this day one of the biggest mysteries in Breath of the Wild. Well, to be honest, all of the heroines are a huge mystery because we know nothing about them.
Only that they are divine protectors of the Gyarados, but even the Gyarados seem to know nothing about the 8th one. How did it end up all the way to the rugged Gyarados highlands? Was it through natural causes, or does it actually symbolize something? Some people theorize that the heroines represent sages and the 8th one is an exiled sage. But who built these enormous statues? And why is the text and everything else in the 8th one reversed? Some people also theorize that there might be a dungeon behind it or some other hidden mystery, which could be possible since Breath of the Wild 2 is speculated to have a new underground area, so could the 8th Heroine be an entrance to it? It is such a mysterious and important matter that it just cannot be left like that.
Number 3 is what really happened 10,000 years ago.
They teased us with so much stuff in Breath of the Wild from events 10,000 years ago, but in the end, we're left really vague. The ones that I'm most interested in are the history behind the creation of the Sheikah technology and why it was created. Why were the Guardians and Divine Beasts created, since Link and Zelda haven't had that much trouble defeating Ganon on their own before?
Heck, Link has managed to defeat Ganon many times on his own. Impa explains something that they were created to assist in defeating Calamity Ganon.
But we saw both in Breath of the Wild and in Age of Calamity that the Divine Beasts and Guardians weren't necessary to defeat Calamity Ganon. Well, it is theorized that the Ganon we see in this game isn't actually Calamity Ganon, just a puppet of Ganon or something. I don't know. But yeah, the Guardians and Divine Beasts did help, but then also most of the chaos in these games was because Ganon corrupted them, so I don't really know. But speaking of Ganon, the cause of Calamity Ganon's birth is also something that just has to come into the open.
Yes. It is told that at one point Ganon was once again reborn into Hyrule, but due to unknown reasons transformed into the Beast of Malice we see in the game.
But like, how? How did it happen? Was Ganon just like, no, I'm tired of this, time to wreak havoc? The words,
The history of the royal family of Hyrule is also the history of Calamity Ganon.
still haunts us to this day. Did the royal family have something to do with the creation of Calamity Ganon? Well, if you ask me, probably yeah, cause like we have seen before, they sometimes have a really hard time keeping their kingdom intact. That is actually a really good theory idea. Nobody steal this, it's mine! You heard it here first! And number 2 is the Zonai tribe, or Zona if you prefer the Japanese pronunciation. You might be shocked that it's not number 1 because of how mysterious they are, but hear me out. Ever since the trailer for Breath of the Wild 2 was released, there has been a huge amount of theories about it, and most of them are about how the Zonai are gonna be tied to this upcoming game.
For example, there have been theories that the hero from 10,000 years ago was actually a Zonai.
And the green hand in the tapestry is the same green hand we see in the trailer holding Ganon. I mean, that's totally mysterious and unknown figure down. Anyway, the Zonai are told to be a mysterious warrior-type race in the Faron region,
which mysteriously disappeared, but their ruins and buildings were left and are scattered throughout Hyrule.
In creating a champion, it was told that the Zonai and their ancient runes were added to the game to make it seem more realistic, but we don't really know anything about the tribe itself. What happened to them? Why did they disappear? Did the royal family actually force them to disappear just like the Sheikah? Are the people of Lurlin village actually their descendants? There is just such a huge commotion around them, and because of all the clues, they are most likely going to be in the game, but nothing is confirmed, so we just have to see. Number 1 for me is the timeline placement. Okay, you might be like, what are you on about? Breath of the Wild already has a timeline placement. Yes, it does. But it doesn't make any freaking sense.
Yes, it is in its rightful place at the end of the timeline.
But I just want to know how it happened.
Oh, that no matter the timeline, everything ends in Breath of the Wild. Or it's up to the player's imagination. Just feels like a really bad excuse that doesn't make any sense at all. And when Nintendo was like, oh, revealing the timeline placement hurts the gameplay. What? What? How does it hurt the gameplay if you just specify where this one game takes place on this fictionalized timeline that really has no significant relevance to gameplay and just confirms something that players have been wondering for the past 4 years? Unless they're planning on some big reveal on the timeline placement and what really happened at the end of all the other timelines, cause otherwise it just doesn't make any sense. Cause now they make it seem like Breath of the Wild is at the end of every timeline separately, meaning that every timeline ends in the same world we see in Breath of the Wild, but they are still separate from each other. If that makes sense. But that just wouldn't make any sense at all, since every timeline had different events, so they just cannot end all the same.
For example, how do Zora and Rito coexist? In the Downfall and Child timeline, Rito don't exist, and in the Adult timeline, Zora don't exist, because they evolve into Rito. And since there are references to every timeline in the game, so it doesn't make any sense that every timeline ends in Breath of the Wild, cause every timeline had different events.
For example, there are references to the Twilight Realm, but in the other timelines, there was no Twilight invasion. So how would this be possible in the adult timeline version of Breath of the Wild? Or in adult timeline where Hyrule was submerged under the sea for the rest of eternity? So how could it be the same Hyrule? And it wouldn't make any sense if it were the new Hyrule, since it is completely on a different continent, and in the other timelines the Hylians never fully immigrated there.
So how is this possible? Did all 3 timelines merge together at some point, which ended up in what we see in Breath of the Wild?
Well, that feels like the most logical answer to me, but I just want to know how.
As I said, at this point anything is fine for me. I just want an explanation on how everything happened. And a bad excuse like, oh, every timeline ends separately in Breath of the Wild no matter what is just BS and not satisfying at all. Also, kinda unrelated, but, well, not really, is that I'd be really happy if they told us the real title of the game. I don't mind if there isn't like a trailer or teaser or anything, I just want to know the name, cause calling it Breath of the Wild 2 or sequel to Breath of the Wild just feels really stiff. But if its name is actually gonna be either of those, I'm gonna freaking scream.
Overall, I'm really excited for this game and can't wait to hear something new about it, hopefully soon. Also, I'm really sorry for the lack of videos. There is some renovation work going on in our building, so I haven't been able to record because of all the noise. But since I haven't been able to record, I have been working on a few scripts for future videos, so no worries. New videos are coming out. Someday. What did you think? What kind of story points would you like to see in Breath of the Wild 2? Do you want these same things or something else? Make sure to tell me in the comments. Thank you for watching this video, and if you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like cause it really helps me out, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a lots of love. Bye bye!